Hello and welcome to the Blaston commentary series or something. I am your host, Robo President. This is the series where we talk about and critique my awful Blaston gameplay. We talk about Blaston news and game craft / theory, and we do it all unscripted because, as you know, scripts are for simps. You know, did I really intend for that to become my tagline? I don't know. As you guys know, this was not... I don't know. I didn't intend for this to become the Blaston podcast. It's sort of morphing into that. And the Blaston podcast was supposed to be the Blastcast. So maybe we'll be morphing these commentary videos into the true Blastcast very soon. We shall see. And we'll get a better tagline than Scripture for Sims because I don't know. Twitch might not let me say that word if I ever move to Twitch or something. They get upsetty. They don't like funny words. Anyways, today's topic, I want to talk about an issue near and dear to my heart after having a conversation with Wesley Wayso, the man, the myth, the legend, in Discord today about power creep. Now, if you are a loser and you watch anime, I watch some. The only one you should be watching is Dragon Ball. Any other than that, then you're a weirdo. Besides that, anyways, you might be familiar with the concept of power creep, how characters in animes or in shows in general, like, I don't know, superhero genres get stronger and stronger as the stakes get higher and higher, and as the characters achieve greater and greater challenges and feats because the story demands higher stakes. So there's natural power creep. And Blaston has a kind of a similar phenomenon. And we need to discuss that. Now, this is something that is known. People know this. People understand that the skills that players have now are definitely better than the skills that players had 6 months ago. And definitely better than the skills that players had 1 year ago. But we really need to break this down. I think this can be an entire episode of itself. And a grown, almost 30-year-old man, grown man, really needs to break it down because I need this teenage boy to Sorry, Wayso. I need you to understand. I need you to understand that you were way better like 3 months ago than you were a year ago. All right? The year ago was not your prime. Okay? And we're going to use some examples. Look, this video is not, I'm not here to try to prove Wayso wrong for one video. Wayso is actually going to, surprise, I'm going to, I may be having a special guest on the episode after this. But I do want to talk about power creep because I think it's a very interesting phenomenon. And it's if any one of us who play Blaston regularly, if you go back in time, if we got in the time machine and go back and you inserted yourself back to a tournament with the skills that you had now, if you play regularly, you would do a lot more damage than you'd think. And I think another name for this phenomenon is player complication. I've actually mentioned that in an earlier episode. But I'm actually going to call this power creep to keep it in line with this kind of this anime analogy. So call me a weeb if you want. I really don't. I actually don't watch a lot of anime. I like Dragon Ball. So this now almost 30-year-old man is going to tell you and explain to you with a really bad analogy on what power creep is. So let's break this down. Spoilers for over a 30-year-old TV show if you have not seen Dragon Ball, right? So I want you to think of the Blaston player base as, let's call them martial artists, right? So they are your, they're not your run-of-the-mill, hopefully you're not your run-of-the-mill VR players. Usually people that would get into Blaston are people that don't just play VR, you know, like someone would play Wii Sports Resort. They're looking for something a little more hardcore. Now, if we go back to, to Dragon Ball, right? In the world of Dragon Ball, there was something called the World Martial Arts Tournament. And in the World Martial Arts Tournament, in the world of Dragon Ball, look, bear with me, all right? Just hang on for 2 seconds. Don't click off. Stop it. Stop. Don't do. I know you were clicking. I know you're thinking about it. So, in the world of Dragon Ball, martial arts was like so popular that the average person would want to go see these tournaments and fight. Kind of like in the world of Blaston, right? So, where we want to go see the most powerful players fight. Now, you have your normies, and your normies aren't very powerful. And then you have your, your run-of-the-mill people, and they know how to fight, and it's entertaining to watch them fight. And then you have like the main characters of the show, and the main characters of the show are like crazy strong. Now that doesn't mean that the people that aren't the main characters of the show don't know not how to fight. It's just they're not the main characters of the show. So let me break down where I'm going with this. So there was a discussion today in the Discord where I said, and I've said it before in videos, that Yelkel has some of, and I quote, some of the strongest offense in Blaston. Now, does that mean that he's on the same level as JJ, Tess, Hueso, Woody, old Golden Knight, anybody who's a top player? Absolutely not. Sorry, no, that is not what that statement entails. Right? But when I say some of, the Blaston community is not just those top 10 players. And that needs to be understood. Right? So his crazy, weird Viper pinning, when he pins you down with his glass cannon attacks, what I mean by that is that not very many people do that. So he's up there somewhere. I don't know where. He's definitely not top 10. And I don't even know if he's top 20, but it's some of the better Viper plays. So that's not an incorrect statement. So just because you're not losing to him, and just because he's not one of the main characters, you get what I'm saying, right? Just because he's not a Goku or a Vegeta or a Piccolo or even a Krillin, doesn't mean that he's not out there kicking some poor, sod's butt on the reg. So that's the point of those kinds of statements. And Yelkel has definitely power creeped. Yelkel, I don't have any, footage. And Yelkel used to be a pretty avid bunker player. Back in Crackdown, he was known for using bunker. And then all of a sudden, he went to being Viper Man #1. And this new Yelkel is way stronger than the old one. So yeah, if you put the two of them in the room together and they fought, the new one would take the old one the task. So yeah, no. So it's not an incorrect statement to say that some of, right? Because remember, Blaston's power scaling in general is more than just the top bracket. You gotta think of statements in context in their entire holistic approach, right? Don't go to just 5 people. If I wanted to say that if I had said something incorrect, like, oh, he's top 5 or something, that would be demonstrably incorrect. Because as we know, we can all name it. We can definitely name 5 people that have stronger offense than Yelkel, but there are more than 5 people that play Blaston, right? You get what I'm getting at here, right? You get me? Okay. Anyways, so let's get back to where things fit in with power creep in this analogy that it's like the World Martial Arts Tournament. And I can't believe I had to fit in these these images of freaking Dragon Ball, right? So you got your big boys, right? You got your JJs, you got your 24s, you got your Tessas, right? And when they show up to the games and they're just like, everyone's like, what the heck? They're blown away by their skill. you know, that doesn't mean that the other people that were in the tournament are like not proficient fighters. It's just they're on a whole nother level, right? And they have, and just like in the show, as the years went by, they got stronger and stronger and stronger because they faced threats and each other. Every tournament, every time they play, they have to come up with new ways to beat each other. I mean, that's why the clamp was invented. That's why triple juggling was invented. That's why double shields was invented and died. That's why, you know, these strategies were invented and now get and see they see use. Is because they're all people are trying to find ways to outplay each other. And there's definite power creep. So, you can, I mean, to go back to, you know, this discussion that we had, or that I had earlier, you know, where it's like, oh, well, you know, 1 year ago, you're at the top of your game. Like, even like, let's say, okay, so let's say you win a tournament back in the day, right? But man, dude, like, you're like the top, like, even if you're not winning tournaments, dude, like, you're like I know me personally, like, my gameplay here is way stronger than the gameplay that I had like at the Val Summer Games a year ago. And that if I had used this strategy against Turbo like a year ago, like, I would have won that game, but I didn't have this skill a year ago. So yeah, because I relied on turtling. So, you know, power creeping happens. I've seen it with multiple people. There's multiple players in the community that have power creep, for sure. For sure. It's demonstrable. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't believe I had to compare Blaston power creep to a grown man has to compare Blaston power creep to a anime that's well known. Whatever. What does my life come to? I don't know. Am I running out of ideas? Like, look, the pressure of trying to get an episode out real fast because I'm going out of town, it's mounting. I'm going out of town tomorrow, so I'm trying to get some content out regularly for you guys, so that way there is not a lull. Okay, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Anyways, now, where do I think, you know, power creep will go from here? Well, I mean, look at 24. We're approaching the VRML finals, so we've talked about VRML a little bit in previous episodes, and it's approaching its end here pretty soon. And the finals are coming up, and who would have guessed it's going to be 24 versus JJ, the eternal battle, the Maul versus Obi-Wan, the Luke versus Vader, the eternal battle of the fates. They just can't stop fighting each other. But I mean, people can't help but notice that the games have been getting closer. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure JJ feels some pressure. I think he would be maybe downplaying it a little bit to say he's not. He's definitely feeling it just a smidge. Because 24 power creeped a ton. I remember the first time I played him back in Quick Draw, and you know, he did not know how to clamp, and then, you know, gave him a couple months, and then he was clamping. And then it went all downhill from there. So, yeah. I mean, another example of power creeping that I can think of that's pretty pronounced, because Yelko power creeped, 24 power creeped, another prominent, I think, community member. Honestly, me think. I don't know. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. I almost said alpha for some reason. He's actually gotten a little bit better. I think he's been playing with 24 a lot. I've noticed his dodge game's gotten pretty good, but it's not like great. I mean, it's he's jumping around. He's a kid trying to make his way in the universe, or whatever I said that he thought was hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. Power creep's a thing. And this is actually, so you know what? I just thought of this. This is actually going to present an interesting problem. Maybe for Blaston because of power creep. So if somebody wants to get into Blaston, do we think that power creep will create a prohibitive barrier to entry when someone wants in on a piece of the pie? And what I mean by that is, let's say you're Joe Schmo. You just made it to Overlord, right? And you want in. You're into the community. You want to play with the big boys. You want to get good, but you haven't been playing since December 2020. So you haven't seen all the changes. You haven't had the 2 years of practice. You haven't seen the metas rise and fall, right? So do we think that not being on the bleeding edge of all of these changes, does it make a difference? I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that question. I mean, part of me thinks that it might be better to just not have to worry about all those old, not having to go through all that trial and error and jumping straight to what works, right? Because you get to see what works now. But part of me also thinks that you need those experiences to build from, those building blocks to help inform how you play. So I don't know. I don't know. But what we can say is that the skill gap has definitely gotten higher. And so if you're a new person starting out and you want to work your way to the top, you have way more work cut out for you than you would have, a year and a half, 2 years ago, for sure. That's undeniable. I think it would have been much easier for let's say some random person. And I know someone's gonna go, no, there's no way they could have won because I won. And look, do you get what I'm getting at? Because we've all gotten better. Because we're better. What did Homelander say? We're better than you, or whatever, right? Like, we've all gotten better since then, right? So, yeah, if you had tried to start from scratch a year ago, I think it would have just worked out more. But now you're going to have a tougher time. And maybe that's why a lot of people have, I wouldn't say a lot of people, I don't know. Maybe that's why some people have a tough time getting into it. And that's kind of where we find ourselves sometimes, where we're at. There's definitely, people are demanding high skill weaponry. We've talked about the incoming nerfs for some things that pretty much everyone knows are going to happen, like the bounce stuff. I mean, it's pretty much universally accepted. But I mean, you could see even like, look at this game. Like, if you've been paying attention to this gameplay today, there hasn't really been a lot of bounce stuff at all. What's been happening? Clamping. Does that mean that it should be nerfed? No, I don't necessarily think so. Because that's a very surface level way to look at the problem overall, if you would consider it a problem. I think the problem is that people feel like they can't. They feel like they're in an unwinnable situation. Like they just can't get out of a perfect clamp because the enemy player has put all that effort into setting up the clamp, right? So, they should be rewarded for that. But I don't think the solution is to nerf a clamp. Or to nerf tools to clamp. Because we've seen this happen multiple times where a weapon will be good and knee-jerk reaction is to nerf it, and then we kind of look back on it and go like, well, that actually would have worked in another meta later on, right? So maybe giving players tools to defend themselves, you know, defense Robo coming back in hot. Here he comes with his defense conspiracy theories. He just cannot be stopped. Anyways, that doesn't really have a lot to do with power creep, but you catch my drift, right? So here I am swinging my wang around trying to figure out Viper again. But yeah, I don't know. I have this suspicion that power creep can also be a problem for new players. Just before this, well, I wasn't getting any Q games, so I went into Ozo to try to get some games with some new players. And I wasn't trying to stomp on new players, but the poor guys, like, I could hear it. Like, they were like, man, I hate this game because that freaking everyone's so good, like, whatever, right? Like, and that doesn't mean that we should cater to them necessarily, but I don't know. I don't know how you fix it, because we've all gotten freaking good because we sat around playing Blaston all day while everyone else went to go play some other stupid game like Contractors and get spawn killed by cross the map grenades all day. And they thought that was fun. So, yeah. Who knows? How do you fix it? I don't know. It's beyond me. I'm just an IT man trying to make my way in the universe. See, look, there's that freaking that corner zap again. The back of my head clipped out. Anyways, so we've got this match here with 24. I mean, that's all I've got to say really about when it comes to whatever it was I was talking about. What was it? It was I already forgot. What was it called? Oh, power creeping, right? So now we'll just go ahead and break down some gameplay. You've got 24, the man, the myth, the legend himself. I have absolutely no chance. And I already knew that coming into it. That's why I kind of swapped to Viper, because I knew I was going to get him again. Anybody who has played with me knows that Viper is one of my weakest weapons that I would ever possibly choose. I just wanted to see if I can get some practice in with it. Because if I wasn't going to win, maybe I could at least dial in my accuracy a little bit against the most slippery little 14-year-old on the entire eastern seaboard. I'm sure the government can look into recruiting his dodging ability and, I don't know, taking his blood or something, because soldiers can use it. I don't know. It's pretty uncanny. But yeah, it goes to show. I mean, when you look at the Viper versus Curve Luma here, I mean, when you have a highly proficient Curve Luma player, as is the case with 24, those two extra, and look at this, I go for the bum charge. I mean, as is the case with 24, like those 2 extra seconds that he gets, like, it's way worth it. I mean, it's way worth it. There's no point to use freaking Viper E, because you have 2 extra seconds. You're probably not going to land your shots. So if you're probably not going to land your shots, you need more shots, because it's shot consistency. You'll get more shot consistency if your shots are responding in back faster, and you'll get that option if you go for Curve Luma. So, after trying to dive bomb 24, I was like, okay, well, we're going to go back for dive bombing again. Let's try something new. So let's see who will be my victim in my weird strategy that I'm about to employ. And I think it's going to be it's going to be 8s, but he's hiding behind his little Smurfy account. He thinks I don't know, but I do know. I always know. Eights has multiple headsets, but whatever. So the strategy I'm trying to employ here, to be frankly honest, I'm trying to negate as much damage as possible, and I'm trying to force eights to the front of the podium. And I want to do this for a very, very obvious reason. So I'm just trying to, like, but he's not letting it happen. He keeps catching my freaking grenades. So I don't, like, I'm like, come on, eights. Like, what are you doing? So I keep going back to that grenade, and I'm trying to throw it behind him so I can push him up front. And then I want to throw shotgun in one hand and my Viper in the other, and I'm going to bum rush the crap out of him. But he just isn't letting me go up front. So I'm going to try to take, I got the shotgun now, my hammer set up. We dodge. Whoa! And somebody zipped right on by, and just like that motorcycle, I ran right up and I got the win. And it somehow worked. So yeah, I don't know. That does bum rushing can potentially work. It's just it's risky. It's a risky move. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure Turbo just saw this and cringed. I'm sorry, Turbo. You've done this. This is your fault. I'm kidding, man. So, yeah, at this point, I know I'm not going to try to do the same strategy twice because he's going to be ready for it. So I'm just going to try to take him out the normal way. Which, that being not using straight Viper at all. So, because I know I'm not going to get any hits with it because I'm using the damage Viper. And I'm just going to try to cheese eights with slow hammer nade and pressure. And it's mostly going to work. But actually, pretty soon, if I recall, I'm going to get a pretty good hit in. And this is actually where slow Viper can work. Look, right there. If someone turns their back on you like that, like, I don't know, that was pretty strong. That, 36 was not insignificant. So, that pretty much ended the match for him. He had no way to come back. But I don't know. I wouldn't rely on slow straight Viper because you need to. It heavily relies on trapping, and it's mainly a way to like scare somebody out of the way. And most people don't even realize that it's slow. I think most people think that you're going to try to hit them with Bounce Viper. So, whatever. But that's all I've got for the night. That's about 30 minutes of gameplay. And I'm just going to keep this episode at 30 minutes for you guys. Because I'm sure ranting about power creep and bum rushing and clamping is enough for anyone to bear. And I'm sure next episode will be a treat with our special guest who will be joining me. I promise you guys will enjoy it. But thank you for sticking with me today. I highly appreciate it. This has been the Blaston commentary series or episode or something. I am Robo President, as always, Script Surfer Simps. Be sure to like. Let's pump up that Blaston algorithm. As we know, we desperately need it. Please. It's not for me. Do it for Blaston. If not for Blaston or whatever. I don't know. I was trying to come up with something nice. I will catch you guys later. Peace.